This is Jets at Noon with Cameron Poitras and Jim Toth on 680 CJOB.
That was probably the ugliest one, I think. But at the end of the day, when you put together a streak like this, not every win is going to look the same. That'd be almost impossible. So I think it's a testament to the type of team we are and how deep we are, and find different ways to win. Not everyone's going to be a Picasso, and tonight we felt like we gave up a little too much, but still found a way to get the win, and that's what matters.
That was Mason Appleton, goal scorer, cleaning up a little bit of some action in front of the net in the crease. Putting the game, well, that was eventually the game winner. Jets at Noon brought to you by Wash Method Car Wash, 690 St. Anne's Road. VIP take on the text line. Win a VIP car wash from my good friends at Wash Method, 204-780-6868. Jets win 4-1 over the Ottawa Senators. They're 11 straight. They try and pick up their 12th straight tonight in Nashville. Coming up, Robby Stanley. He's with 102.5. The game in Nashville. He's also a hockey NHL writer down there in Nashville. He'll be joining us at 12:30 to take a look at that game. But, Jim, what were your thoughts of last night's victory for the Winnipeg Jets? Not a Picasso, as Mason Appleton said, but another gutsy win by the Winnipeg Jets.
Yeah, look, it wasn't pretty, and it needed some guts, and but to me, it was never in doubt. I just didn't think that the Ottawa Senators were going to beat this team last night. Now, it was in doubt with me with San Jose, which is the worst team in the National Hockey League, but I don't know. There was something about last night's game that the first period, and they were dropping the gloves, and I just thought, like, even if it reminded me of the first Ottawa game, that Ottawa went up this year 2-0, and then the Jets scored 4 unanswered and beat them. That's what even if Ottawa scored first, I kind of got the feel off that. It's funny how well things are going for this team this year. And we had Ken Wiebe this week from Rennie and Spenny. Kenny and Spenny,
one of my favorite shows of all time.
I detest that show, but anyway.
Well, you have no taste, but that's okay.
Obviously, yes, clearly. But the Kenny and Rennie podcast, and he made this point a couple of weeks ago that everything's gone right for the Jets this year. Like he said, there's been an injury or two, but the bounces they don't normally get in some games, some things like they've pulled out some games where historically, those games have gone against them, or they wouldn't get a break or a bounce here. And predominantly throughout this year, a lot of things have gone right. And now you make your own luck, like I believe in that, but there's also, hockey bounces and stuff. But last night was one of those games where going into the game on social media the last 2 days, I've been hearing about get rid of Appleton. If they want to add some depth in the third, get rid of him. He hasn't done anything. He doesn't contribute anything. He's an offensive black hole, blah, blah, blah. And then I just thought, like, as the season is gone, just when a fever starts rising, he gets a goal, right?
Well, yeah.
And he does. I mean, he does more than obviously the scoring they'd like more, but he does everything else well.
Just look at where the third line ranks in the entire National Hockey League with those guys.
I just think that played into what I heard Sean Reynolds say a couple of weeks ago when that things have gone well, that even when there's a sweltering of, like, look at the Pionk, right? Going into the season, Pionk's terrible. Pionk's got to go. Pionk's going to do this. Pionk's a hole. And now it's the Stanley stuff, right? Like for months now that Stanley's terrible and Stanley has bad turnovers and blah, blah, blah. And he does. But he's not terrible, and he's not...
Stanley, listen, if we're going to talk about Logan Stanley, I liked what he did in the first period, and I thought he's had a great string of games here.
Again, you should never buy into social media because, and I'm not trying to discredit the opinions on there. I'm not trying to discredit your opinion.
It's a small sample size.
The opinion of somebody not belonging in the National Hockey League is ridiculous.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
He wouldn't be here if he didn't belong or have a role or whatever. But it's fair to criticize the game and what they're doing. I'm all for that.
Yeah.
But there's a realm of he shouldn't even be here. It's like you're missing the things that he does do.
So what I liked so much about last night's game was, once again, just like they did against the Sharks, a complete shutdown in the third period. 2 shots against. The ability to park the bus and lock things down and totally smother their opponent and just focus on grabbing the win unselfishly is one of the best team abilities that you can have in hockey. It's one of the best compliments you can give a team because it requires everybody pulling on the rope. It requires everybody to put the best interests of the team in front of their own. And it showcases a huge commitment to team defense and finding any way possible to win. And when you allow only 2 shots against, and the Senators had a pretty good first period, the Jets gave up too much in the first and parts of the second. That's not Hellebuck. That's the guys in front of him.
Yeah.
So if you're a part of the crowd, or you're one of those people, or you've heard people talk about, Connor Hellebuck bails him out. And yeah, Connor Hellebuck's the best goaltender in the world. He's going to bail you out. You hope he's going to bail you out. But 2 shots against, Connor Hellebuck can't stop pucks coming his way. If you're only letting 2 against all period, against, again, let's be honest, a injured, depleted lineup against the Ottawa Senators, but they're still National Hockey Leaguers on that team. 2 shots against, that is a massive achievement for this team.
Mike McIntyre said this on the pregame yesterday on 680 CJOB. It's hard to criticize this team. It's hard to find things. Now, there are things, but it's not a blatant, these are, as great as they are, these are 2 things they need to fix. There are some things they can get better at. There are some things, but none of it's terrible. None of it has to be fixed or else. And to your point of the 2 in the third period, that's a team that's down at home and is coming.
Yeah.
Like, it's not like the first period where, oh man, they got the jump on us and they're at home, blah, blah, blah. Or the second, when you go into the third period, which they are now an unbelievable 32-0-1 with a lead going into the third this season. 32-0-1. They do not have a regulation loss this season when going into the third with the lead. 25 shots against, Cam. The old Rick bonus from 2-3 training camps ago, 25 shots or less.
Yep.
When you have the best goalie in the world and you limit 25 shots or less, you're probably going to win more often than not. And they did it again last night. But to your point of the third and the defensive shutdown, how many years have you needed this team to do that?
Yeah.
You need to close the door here. There was that year where it was 9 or 11 tying goals or winning goals with 3 minutes or less to go. It was a year they lost the playoffs to St. Louis.
Yeah.
It was that year. Look, it's a great ride. It's going to end eventually. Could be tonight because it's back-to-back, whatever.
Yeah, it's a challenging game tonight for sure.
But this is a great ride that needs to be enjoyed. I did this. The Bombers won their first Grey Cup in 29 years. And then the next year they were on their way. They were like 7 or 8-1 or something.
Yeah.
And I said, Bomber fans need to start enjoying this. You've waited so long for this that this team, I know you're trying to find holes and everything like that. I'm going to say this about this Jets team. You need to start enjoying this. I know this is a town and a province always waiting for the other shoe to fall because of the history and the storied history of Jets 1.0 and the Moose going to a Calder Cup final, not getting it done, and everything else. And the Bombers have gone to 5 straight, but they've lost 3 now. But you're missing this. This is historic. The Jets have never had a better chance, including last year, of winning the Stanley Cup than this season. And I just hope all Jets fans are enjoying it.
Can I pull a stat? And I had this in my morning sports run here on 680 CGOB, but I want to say it again because I want to make sure that it has enough, that it gains enough footing here. The Jets now have a league-leading 42 wins. They are tied for the 5th most in NHL history by any club prior to their 60th game. They only trail the 22-23 Bruins, who had 46, while the 18-19 Lightning, the 15-16 Capitals, and the 95-96 Red Wings all had 44. So the Jets right now are putting together, not even playing their 60th game, right? They put together the 5th best season to this point in the history of the National Hockey League. And that is an incredible achievement. Now, not all those teams there won the Stanley Cup. But that's an incredible achievement.
And guess what, Cam? Hockey gets tougher for any NHL team in January.
Yeah.
It's now the end of February. It's March 1st on Saturday. They are on an 11-game win streak when hockey is at its toughest, other than the playoffs. I looked this up last night after the game. The next hottest team is the Tampa Bay Lightning, who have won 6 in a row. The next teams that are the hottest are the Leafs and the Flyers, who have won 3 in a row. The Jets have won 11 in a row when hockey gets tougher. The Lightning 6 and the Flyers and the Leafs 3. Everybody else cannot string together more than 3 wins right now in a row. It just, again, I know everybody listening, it means nothing if they don't go for a deep playoff.
Yeah.
I understand that. It's asked the Boston Bruins a couple of years ago when they set the best record.
And I mentioned the Lightning, too, in 18-19. That was another team that didn't live up to expectations.
And every team is different. Every playoff run is different, everything. But if you look at historically, the teams that have been very good for a long time, and when they went on a run, it's now for the Jets. The Washington Capitals, the whatevers, who named them the Colorado Avalanche, losing 2 rounds in the second round, and then they go on to win their Stanley Cup.
Mm-hmm.
I'm not saying it's happening. There's a lot of hockey left. There's a trade deadline. There's some health to be maintained, stay healthy, all of that stuff. But you put this team right now into a 7-game series with anybody. 7 games. Somebody has to beat this team 4 times in 7 games. It's going to be tough.
204-780-6868. Let's take a break. Let's come back. On the other side, there's something that the Winnipeg Jets have been slacking on a little bit.
Uh-oh. There's always something.
There's something. I'll ask you when we come back. And Robby Stanley's going to talk a little bit of Preds. He's down in Nashville. He's the host of the Robby and Rex Road Show. We'll discuss the Preds, who, and I'm happy Robert mentioned this. Hey, Cam and Jim, I can't believe the Jets are 40 points up on the Preds. Yeah, the Predators have 47 points. The Jets have 87 points.
I mean, the Predators, right? That has to be the biggest disappointment this year.
Oh, absolutely. Yeah. We'll be right back.
Jets at noon with Cameron Poitras and Jim Toth on 680 CJOB.
Well, it was red hot for a long time, but the Jets' power play is 0 for 10 over the last 4 games.
They haven't scored in 4 games.
No, they're 0 for 10.
Won all 4 of those games.
They're 0 for 10.
Are you worried? I'm not worried.
Jim.
Look at my face. Do I look worried?
I'm not worried in the slightest. Listen, it's gonna cool off a little bit. I still like them. They're still generating looks.
Yeah,
it's just not going in.
It's moving well. It looks good. Yeah. I'm not concerned about it. But it's
no.
Right?
You got to throw it all out. We got to start from scratch.
Hey, give Apples a look up there. Give Gustafson a look. No, I'm not worried at all. It's an interesting stat, right? Because it's helped them win some games this year, definitely. Especially the second unit. Mm-hmm. There's been times the second unit's got both power play goals in a game, and now it's just, but it looks good. I think it's fine. Maybe tonight it gets a deuce. 2, Bender. 2 power play goals tonight.
Robby Stanley, host of the Robby and Rex Road Show on The Game in Nashville, will be with us when we come back. Don't go anywhere.
We knew they were going to be that way, that they're going to come out hard, especially not having a lot of their top players in the lineup and guys given bigger roles. And, for us, it was just, there were some parts that were good, but at the end of the day, it came down to execution and just, not being heavy on puck.
That was head coach Scott Arniel for the Winnipeg Jets. 4-1 win yesterday in Ottawa. It's about part of a back-to-back, Jim, and the Jets haven't swept a back-to-back series yet, a set of 2 games. They haven't been able to win both of them, so they'll try and do that tonight.
They haven't?
They have not.
They've done everything else this year.
Yeah, pretty much. Yeah.
We'll find. Yeah, I mean, it's a tough one. Like Nashville's, I think it was Appleton who said it, right? Or DeMello. No, DeMello said it on the 680 CJOB postgame last night. He said, hopefully we get through the customs quick and get there and get a good night's rest and stuff. But he said it doesn't matter the records and stuff. Nashville's always a tough barn to play. And these 2 teams are division rivals, have for a long time. Mm-hmm. Go back to the playoff series a couple years ago. It's not going to be easy tonight despite Nashville's record.
Yeah, no doubt about that. And it's the time zone jump too, eh? It's a time zone jump from the east to the central, and that always has a play. You got to go through customs. It's kind of set up for perhaps some disappointment. Joined by Robby Stanley, the host of the Robby and Rex Road Show on The Game in Nashville, also covers the Preds there in town. Hey, Robby, how are you? Thanks for coming back on.
Gentlemen, I'm doing great. How are y'all?
Excellent.
Fantastic. Well, what do you think? Is this setting up for something where the Preds can come out and steal a game against the Jets and end their winning streak at 11?
We were talking about that this morning at the morning skate. Really, when you kind of look at on paper right now what the Predators have, they have no business winning this game. The Jets have won 11 in a row, so that leads me to believe that the Predators are going to win this game because I've seen how weird this game is and how it works all the time. But, I mean, look, right now the Predators are just horrible defensively, and that was – look, they were bad defensively before Roman Josi got knocked out the other night, and Josi's not going to play tonight. So it's going to be quite the defense core that they throw out there tonight that the Jets are going to have, I think, an opportunity to feast on.
Robby, why can't this team score? And I go back to the last time we had you on in the first matchup, and then, we ran the comments of Stamkos, who didn't name names, but he's like, it's just so frustrating. This is months ago, talking about having to get to the right spot and be in the right place and making the right place to score. What is going on with this team and what Luke Schenn had to say the other day about not being able to score?
Yeah, Luke Schenn, I was actually talking to him, and he threw the quote out there that he's never been a part of a team that literally can't score. And, I think people have been taking that and probably run with it a little bit out of context.
Yeah.
But, I mean, he's right. Like, offensively, they're awful, and there's no reason for them to be this bad when you look at some of the guys they've got at forward. And, they figured things out seemingly for about a 3.5-week stretch in early January where they had moved Stamkos to the middle, and that top line of Stamkos, Marchessault, and Forsberg were really, really good together. They were producing. Forsberg went on a point streak. They kind of looked like they were figuring some things out offensively. And now they've reverted back to being the worst offensive team in the league. It's like a borderline miracle if they get to 2 goals in a game. And I think it stems from a couple of things. Number one, I still look at their center ice right now position, and it's just not very good. Like, they had high expectations for Tommy Novak heading into the year. He's not been able to live up to it. They've elevated Fedor Svechkov, and he's playing in a top 6 role right now, one of their rookie players, and he's not ready for it. Like, he's not ready to play in that role. And Ryan O'Reilly, who I think is still a really good player, probably is not a number 1 center at this point in his career, and he's being forced to play like one in this lineup. So I think you factor all that in, and at this point it's been such a problem for them all year. I think their confidence is just shot. Like, O'Reilly talked about that after Sunday's 5-0 loss to New Jersey. I mean, they have zero confidence with the puck right now offensively, and I think the totality and the wear and tear on this season is really draining them mentally, and you can kind of feel it when you walk in the room after a game right now.
Yeah, that Schenn quote. I mean, if you see it on paper, what he was like, if you see it typed out, it sounds a lot worse than you go back and listen to him, and you can understand exactly.
Well, and you ran the audio yesterday.
Yeah, I did.
And we got a better context of it. But still, like, I get what he's saying, right? Like,
it's frustrating. Yeah.
I mean, we often do this with seasons, Robbie, as we go like the distance traveled. But I mean, the distance traveled for this Predators team from when the signings were made to where we are right now. It boggles the mind. Like, this is a better team than their record, but yet they are what they are.
Yeah, like I've never, I've covered the Predators. This is my 15th season. I've never seen anything close to this. Like, it's crazy how different this season has played out as to what the expectation was. And it's not like it was just outward expectation. Like, they fully believed heading into this season that they were going to be a threat to win a Stanley Cup. And they're not going to approach making the playoffs. And, they got a decent chance right now to get a top 3 pick. I mean, it's so disappointing, and right now it's kind of everything. They can't score. Their defense is as bad as I can ever remember it being. UC Saros has not looked like UC Saros for large portions of this season, and it kind of leaves you wondering, when you have all those things going wrong at the same time, well, what does that mean for the coaching staff? Barry Trotz has been patient with Andrew Burnett. Barry Trotz is going to be, given his background as a head coach, probably as patient as you can be with a coach. But I just wonder, when you get through all of this and you get to the end of this regular season and it's this bad and everything's gone this poorly, I almost wonder if you're forced to make a change at the end of the year if you're Trotz at that point.
Where do you go from here? Like, I mean, this is difficult, right? The last 20 or so games, but yeah. What's the next step here? I mean, what is the team? What are they playing for?
Well, I think some guys are playing for jobs. I think the veteran forwards on this group that are locked down to big money contracts, you got to find a way to get them going so they can pick up next year with a little bit of confidence to them. And I think a lot of the repair work on this team is going to have to take place in the offseason. they need serious help at center. I mean, there's no doubt about it. They've not really in the history of their franchise been able to find that game-changing centerman. I mean, they've had Ryan Johansson, who was good for a while. You know, they had Peter Forsberg for 17 games, but he had a foot injury at the time and just he wasn't quite the same. So they've been looking and trying to find a franchise-changing centerman for the entirety of their franchise. They've never found one. And as we know, it's the toughest thing to find in the NHL. I mean, right now, the conversation with the fan base is this. Like, if you're going to be bad, finish this thing off being bad. That way you can get a top draft pick, and whether it's Michael Misa or James Higgins or whoever, you take your shot with one of those guys. But beyond that, they have 3 first-round picks available to them. They got a ton of assets that they've drafted over the last few years. I think there's an expectation that Barry Trotz is going to try to be aggressive this offseason via trade and to kind of reshuffle, rearrange this roster to add some center help because, you know, some of the problems, guys, are you look at the forwards, and Stamkos is 35, and O'Reilly's 34, and Marchessault's 34. Forsberg's on the other side of 30. Like, they're not getting any younger, and I don't know if you're going to see them get a whole lot better as time moves ahead here. So will they be better than they've been this year? Well, if they're not, they have no chance. But I think there's a real worry about how old this forward core is right now.
I mean, is there trust that Trotz can make the right decisions? I mean, he kind of swang and missed at a couple of them this season.
Yeah, well, I think, you know, on July 1st of 2024, he was about as popular as any one person in this city, right? I mean, they had signed Stamkos, they signed Marchessault and Shea all in one day. And, you know, I'm not going to say people were throwing a cup parade around here, but it was a really exciting couple of weeks there in Nashville where you just kind of allowed yourself to think about what that could be. And really every move they've made since then and from then on has not worked out. Like the UC Saros contract, we'll see. It's an 8-year contract. It hasn't kicked in yet. And he's had some large stretches over the last couple of years where he's not been very good. So as he moves into age 30, which is what he's going to be as that contract begins, is that going to end up being the right move? Brady Shea has looked awful for the majority of the year. And he's 30 years old. They gave him a 7-year deal. So to your point, I think Trotz could do no wrong, not only with this fan base, but with this ownership about, 9-10 months ago. And right now it is, it's been, I'm not going to say a total 180, but there's heavy doubt on Barry Trotz in terms of some of the decisions that he's made.
And then what do you do with it, right? Like it's just and it's really when we look at the Jets, like people would like to see more change, I think, and familiar faces. And we've done some things this year on just how long this core, like the Ehlers, the Scheifeleys, the Morrisseys, the Hellebucks, the Kyle Connors, the Adam Lowrys have been together. And a lot of it's out of the necessity, right? Like you can re-sign guys here in Winnipeg, right, but trying to get a free agent here isn't Nashville. It isn't Music City. And then you see how the both organizations have gone within the division. It really speaks to knowing what you have and understanding that. And I'm not trying to disrespect proud Manitoban Barry Trotz whatsoever and his hockey knowledge and resume. But, I mean, it's just an interesting contrast of these two teams' seasons and how they've gone about building their rosters and then the pending results of it.
No, you're exactly right. Look, I'll be totally honest with you. Like, when we were going through some of our preseason stuff, and I think I picked the Predators to finish either second or third in the Central, and clearly that was a huge oversight by me. And I was like, you know what? The one team in the Central this year I'm not really all that sure about? Winnipeg. I don't know what's going to happen with Winnipeg this year. And look at them. I mean, they're unbelievable. So to your point, like sometimes, the familiarity and what you have really works out for you and just kind of sticking with it. And look, am I going to sit here today and act like I thought it was a bad idea for Steven Stamkos, Jonathan Marchessault, and Brady Shea to come in and join a team that really overachieved last year and made the playoffs when not a lot of people thought they would? No, I'm not going to sit here and act like I thought that was a bad idea. But sometimes, like, you get these combinations in sports, whether it's hockey, football, whatever, and it just doesn't work. Like, it kind of feels like from the very start this year, it hasn't worked. There's no one having a career year. Matter of fact, pretty much everybody's having a down year, which, again, goes back to, I think, some of the decisions you're going to have to make with the coach this offseason. It has been just such a weird year. I mean, NHL Edge threw out this stat the other day where the Predators have spent the third most time in the league in the offensive zone, and they've got basically nothing to show for it. It's just been a crazy year.
Robby Stanley, host of the Robby and Rexroad Show on the game in Nashville. Robby, thanks so much for joining us. Really take care. Appreciate your time.
Yeah, guys, a pleasure as always. Thanks for having me.
Yeah, take care.
Thanks.
Yeah.
That's kind of a depressing interview with what's going on in Nashville,
God.
But he's great with his insight and would know 15 years and he's never seen anything like that.
Yeah.
But like the coach Brunette, they did the whole "you're not going to the U2 at the Sphere" last year and turned their season around. This year, management's kind of in with the coach, right? Like it's interesting. I just see, and I'm not there, I don't know, but it feels like there's a divide coming, and if it's not already there. We remember when Brunette said this year, "I can't healthy scratch the whole team."
Yeah.
And trust me, they all deserve it, or the majority of them deserve it, or something like that. Like the coach is going to go. You're not going to survive.
Well, you
but
have
he's
to
a
make
good
a
coach,
change.
right? He's highly sought after. But that being said, like the players have to. I don't know, Cam. Like Stamkos' frustration, Shen, just being diplomatic, but saying what he's saying. Marcia Show came in with a chip on his shoulder. Never thought he should have left Vegas.
So did Stamkos. Stamkos came in with it. He didn't want to leave Tampa.
Yossi's been there forever. Philip Forsberg is still one of the best. Well, not this year, but one of the high-end scoring forwards in this
Roman
league.
Yossi's one of the
20.
Roman Yossi's a top 10 D man.
There's
UC Soros is a great goaltender.
It's starting to. I don't like to do this because I'm not a conspiracy theorist at all. But there's something like the Rangers to me.
Yeah.
What is going on in New York? We said that all year. What is going on in that room? What is going on in Nashville? Like, are some upset that they brought these guys in, or are the guys that came in not like the? It's just not gelling. Maybe it is the coach. I could be wrong. Maybe they're sitting here going, what we have isn't being read well. And if another guy comes in here, then maybe we start rolling and stuff. But it's too good of a team to be this bad.
Yeah, there has to be a change at coach. Like that is something you just cannot get away from.
But like he's the one who said, I can't healthy scratch them all. When you're talking about healthy scratching players, that's an effort thing to me.
Yeah, so you have Marcia Show still until 2029 at $5.5. You have Stamkos until 2028, so you still have him for 3 more years after this at $8 million. Ryan O'Reilly, we'll see what happens there. I mean, he's been attached to trade talks all over the place. Got 2 years left at 2.5. He has no trade protection.
Not an effort thing. Like
Brady Shea, you lock until 2031 for $7 million.
Like Logan Stankoven got healthy scratch, and then he came back in and played well and got some points.
Yeah.
Younger players are like that, but you're talking about 10-year veterans here.
You can't healthy scratch everybody, and you can't trade everybody too. You still got to field a hockey team. And so I think a lot of the decisions that have been made and a lot of guys that have been signed, you're kind of tied to them over the next couple of years. At least 1 or 2 after this season.
So you think
you need a new coach, you need a new look at this, and then if this season goes similar to this upcoming season goes similar to this one that's being played right now, and the Nashville in year 25, 26 don't see a marketed improvement, I mean, then there's been some grave errors that have been made because this should work on paper and it's not.
Well, I'll say to the point, like Robby said they had him second or third and didn't know what Winnipeg was. When we started the program, I had the Jets as a while, and then I'm like, no, they'll be third. But I had Dallas, and then I didn't believe in Colorado, and I had Nashville second in the division.
Download the Jets at Noon podcast free now on Apple, Spotify, Amazon Music, or wherever you find your favorite podcast with exclusive Jets talk and content only found there. And take Jets at Noon wherever you go and continue the conversation whenever you want. Is it okay to chirp your coach?
Depends. Like when Andrew Ladd said to Claude Noel, what is it, prom night? Because he had a vest on? That I think is okay.
We'll ask that question again when we come back.
Jets at Noon with Cameron Poitras and Jim Toth on 680 CJOB.
Well, the winner of our Wash Method Car Wash, 690 St. Anne's Road VIP Car Wash from our good friends at Wash Method. This texter, I'll make sure. Let's grab his name. He deserves because he was listening from Hawaii. Robert said face-off wins are the problem right now because we're talking about about not much to nitpick about this team. How can they address that? Yeah, over the last 5 games, it's been 40.9%.
Even Ottawa was 60% in the face-off last night.
And dealing with injuries at center,
But then you got to get a second-line center then, because you're not trading for a good face-off guy and putting him in the top 6 if he's not a top 6 player.
Canadian Travis Konechny trolled his American coach, John Tortorella, about the Four Nations win. I've probably said something at least twice every day I've seen him so far. Trolling his coach. Konechny, I mean, he's still got bragging rights. He was on the team.
That's all
didn't play in that
fun
final
unless
game,
your
but
coach has a temper. His coach doesn't have a temper, does he?
he wasn't on the ice. Can he say that?
I would.
Yeah, so would I. I think he's still on the team. He still contributed to Canada's win at the tournament.
Coach said, hey, we got a power play meeting coming up here in 5 minutes. You go, okay, I'll put my gold medal away and I'll be right there. That's what I would do, right?
Yeah. And Torts is the guy, because he like if you had to rank the amount of people in the entire United States who wanted to win that final game against Canada, Torts has got to be in the top 3 of the guys who wanted that win more than anybody.
Good game tonight. Thanks, Coach. I play good games for Canada, too. We won a gold medal. I want to run this out quick. Nate Thompson, former Jet, longtime NHLer, put this out on social media last night. These Winnipeg Jets, man, the more I watch them, it's going to be very hard to beat this team in 7 games upcoming in the playoffs. So much depth throughout the lineup. The team defense is best in the league with Hellebuck backing them. Good luck, everyone.
Thanks, Nate. Appreciate that one. Call the Jets at noon. Hockey hotline 20, which is open 24/7, 204-780-6800. Hey, game day today. Puck drops at 7. Pregame gets going at 5 o'clock. Game day here on 680 CJOB.
Hey, Coach Torts, I brought you a coffee because I showed my gold medal and they gave me 2.
Jim Toth to take you all the way until 2 o'clock. Thank you very much. Brandon Wasco produced the show. It's for me back. Same night. I'll see you.